Hey guys, welcome to J Plays. I am Iceman, and this is Devblog 7 on my project of translating Nanatama Chronicle of Dungeon Maker, or as I like to call it, Dungeon Maker 3 for the Sony PSP. Now, in the previous video, and by the way, this is a re-recording, I just finished recording, and then I was playing back and watching the footage, and then found that the music volume of the game was a lot higher than my speech, so you could barely hear a word I'm saying. So also, I've just picked up some new recording equipment, so I'm hoping that it comes through loud enough that you can hear me quite clearly. Alright, so to cover what's been done, so in the previous Devblog video, we had done up until the elevator, but nothing of the lower section, like the lower beginnings of the dungeon that take place in the game. So let's go down and have a look. Now, I warned that the work that's been done encompasses just the dungeon making side of it, not the ruins, additional ruins part. Alright, so we have the first pop-up now that we can read it. First floor. Most of the inner area has collapsed. Examine the walls of the dungeon and create and expand it. Magic spells, mark, and warp are effective at moving around. Okay, so now we're in the dungeon. If you see the targeting information, it mentions the fact that we're standing over an elevator. If I remember correctly, I did that at the previous video, I think. But if we walk up to a wall, first we get a pop-up informing us that it's not just a dead end. Target the wall, turn the wall into a passage or room, and you can do that via going into the Make Maze menu. To get access to the Make Maze menu, if you see down the bottom, the triangle key prompt saying to hit triangle, which brings us to another pop-up. Blocks menu. It costs 1 building material to place a block. Menu shows all available blocks, which, as you see here, is the menu which has now been translated. We can even read a rulebook entry which discusses about creating passages and rooms. We can even go into placing said passageway. And this takes us into a conversation with Phil. Now, by the way, I might... just looking at the volume levels. Oh no, it's okay. Might drop it just a little bit extra. Okay. Anyway, so we have another conversation with Phil, who we spoke to back in the previous video. So, you can create a maze. Wow. More powerful than I thought. Now to explore the ruins. Amazing power. So she's just saying the player's, powers are more powerful than she first thought. So, anyways. So part of the work that's been going in since the previous video is in just getting the dungeon making part of it in a fully playable state. And that is now in place. So technically, I mean, if I release this now, you could just do the dungeon making part, but you wouldn't be able to do anything else. So, it's not ready yet. I'll get into releases and stuff at the end of this. In either case, part of the work that's gone in, firstly, before I go into that, I finally got around to translating the notes section, so that's the NTs or memo section that was in the previous 2 games. From here, and I apologize about the formatting, there's nothing I can do there. But you get some quick notes on like how creating a complex dungeon is a good idea, and the monsters really like more complex areas. But the main thing that was done here, because dungeon making isn't just about placing things, it's also about renovating and also sometimes removing them. So in order to do that side of it, that's where the architecture, or AR, menu comes in. Which we see here, so architecture. You can erase dungeons, you can renovate corridors and rooms which use building supplies and special items. From here, we now have access to several abilities that are only accessible via this menu. We can renovate existing areas, so if for example, I go in here, I can choose between basic and wood style if I do choose to use that, and I can also read a rulebook entry on the subject, as you see here, which is being translated. If we want to go and place a wood section, we can do that. If we want to instead place a room, we can do that. And we can say the room type, so it's only based on the rooms that we have accessible to. Again, limitations in size. I would love to format that properly, but there's no way to put line breaks. It's annoying. Anyway, so we can place a guest room. We can read about it too, of the types of reno and abilities, like being able to renovate pathways or corridors, rooms, or we can initialize to put everything back to basic. But if we want to change this to a guest room, which is a common thing in the first 2 Dungeon Maker games, we can do that. And that is now in a fully, not like no longer Japanese state. So you could just play this and kind of have some idea of what you're doing. Now, say we go through this and we're like, no, I don't like what I have. Then that is where these other ones come in. But we've just accessed the renovation menu. We can also check floor information. From here we can check the corridor area, that's what C area stands for. We can check room area, which is what R.area stands for. Habitat level, which is a new feature in this game, though as I said in the previous video, I've got a sneaking suspicion that corresponds to something that was mentioned in the other games but you were never told what it was, which is that all levels kind of add to an overall rating that flows through to like the kinds of monsters that you get. I think that's what habitat level stands for. I will discover more in time. And then you have rating, and then which is the rating of the level itself, and max depth, which is the maximum width and height of the level that you're currently on. Building materials was already translated, so no work was needed here. As in, I translated that in the previous bit. Now, initialize corridors, or init C, is to put everything back to basic. So say, and that's just the corridors. So say we want to set all of the aisles to basic. Didn't touch the room, but it did change that hallway we modified back to being basic type. Say we want to delete a block. So say we want to delete either a hallway or a room that we placed. We go into Devblog. We can even read up on that from here, which talks about if you want to delete a hallway or a room, you can do that, or if you want to delete all, which deletes everything in the whole level, we can do that. So say I want to delete that room I just did, we can do so. And we actually know what we're doing, because it's actually in English now. If we wanted to clear a range, so say we wanted to do this whole area, we can do that. Or if we want to go and delete the entire level, no, I'm not going to do this last one because there's a bit I want to show of where the work's going to be. But if we wanted to, and you see these have been translated to English, we now know what that does. Clears all blocks on floor except stairs and elevator. So if we do this, it'll get rid of every corridor, room, everything, except for the stairs and the elevator. Okay. So that is the current state of things. So whilst it didn't take me that long to show you all this, I think by the time on the video we're sitting on about 8 minutes 50 seconds. That has taken about 6 days of work just to get that much done. So to go in summarized form, so the first pop-up on entering the dungeon, translated, the strategy notes section, translated, the architecture menu, translated, all its options, translated, all the different types of room or corridor and room types, translated, all the pop-ups that are associated with this section, and the rulebooks for the different sections, all the different bits that I've been delving into getting them all feature complete. All those are done. So with that done, the dungeon making part of the game is done. Now that's obviously not encompassing the additional passageway types and room types that you gain access to as you go through the game. Those you don't gain access to until later parts. So, I mean, it would require me to get through the game to a further point. But the point is that the menus and the overall functionality to do those things is done. And here's another pop-up. Aim door. Press triangle to open. So if we go up to this, we see there's a key prompt to open via the triangle button, another thing translated. And that is as far as the work is done. So that is what has been done. As to the work that needs to be done now, is everything after this. So I want to get everything done until the first point, well, until you've done everything and you're ready to return back to town. So the first thing on the list is here. We have the elf field telling us a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what she's saying, but that shall be revealed in time. If we go further up this way, we have a pop-up. I'm assuming it's saying about how to open chests via the triangle button. We get a spear, already translated, so no work needed there, but we do on the pop-up. And if you see the targeting information, the button prompt is translated, but the targeting information is not. Now Phil wants to talk to us again. I'm assuming she's saying something like, that's a lift that takes you back to the ruins. I'm guessing. And we get another pop-up. And we have a new button prompt, which I need to translate. And this as well, this pop-up. And Phil wants to talk to us again. So that conversation needs to be translated. And if we head down this way, there's that item. So that needs to be translated. That's like a new helm type. And there is a mystery creature. Firstly, Phil wants to talk to us, and then this little angel thing. Talks to us, and we get notified of something, and we get a new item, and this pop-up comes up. It needs to be translated. That then adds a new key item to our inventory, so I have to translate that. And it also adds a new journal entry here that needs to be translated. Just exploring and seeing what else there is. Oh, you can go back up. Oh, I didn't know you could go back to it. Interesting. Okay. Learn something new every day. Okay, so it is an elevator. Alright. We then come up here. There's this we can use. And Phil wants to talk to us again. I assume she's saying something like that activated the door. Like some kind of inscription on the door that once read out opens the door. That's what I'm assuming that means. And now, if we go back to the beginning of the ruins, we now get this prompt, which I'm assuming is saying leave ruins. So that should be a quick one to do. Okay, so that is that. So what you just seen with the ruins part of it, that's where my current work is going to be going into the next half of this to reach the end of the next milestone. So the next milestone is to be able to, we'll have everything translated up until the point when you return back to town. That'll be milestone 3. After that point, milestone 4 will be getting the town section done, because when you return back to town, several townspeople then open up their stores that didn't have stores open before. If you go to the research lab, you can hand in research data, like if you see, and that corresponds to like this. So if you see where it says kill and then the question marks, that's because we killed a mystery monster type. That's the way this game works as opposed to the previous games. So in this one, whenever you encounter a new monster type, you get these, and then you return back to town, you get information and rewards for that data, and then once you have submitted enough new monster details, you go up in rank, and then you can go further in the dungeon. And that's how this game goes, I think. So that's the research lab, or our lab as I call it, the building supplies place opens up, and the magic store opens up. So there'll be those three, and there's conversations that happen with people at every place in the town. So those we'll be needing to do. But as I said, the good side to the project now is that dungeon making, that part of it, is done. So, and then once I've got this bit done, that'll be, you know, like using doors, using elevators, all those things. The final bits of functionality when it comes to the ruins will be done. And then when we get to the end of the milestone after that, then the game will be in a playable state. Now when I say playable, all I mean is that even with no knowledge of Japanese, you would at least be able to navigate the game. You wouldn't know what the hell people are saying to you, and after probably a certain point, all the weapons would be and armor would be in Japanese, but at least the menus and everything that you need to do to play the game would be present. So what I plan to do is not the end of this next milestone, but once milestone 4 is reached, I will release a demo of my work, you know, what's been done. Well, one thing, by that point in time, most likely I'll have returned back to work, and then I won't have the same amount of time available that I have now. Currently on work holidays, so I've got loads of time available. But that won't be the case very soon. I'll be chock-a-block full after that. So, but anyways, so that is my current work on this project for Devblog 7. In the next video, you'll be seeing all the ruin bits translated. That's how it'll be. We'll see how long that takes. I mean, because it's mostly conversations, no longer any like major menu functionalities. It's just conversations and a couple of pop-ups. So that next one should be quicker than this one was. But time will tell. I'm trying to give myself breaks for gaming too, and not just working on this 24/7 like I was in the earlier stages of the project. Alright, yeah, so that does it for Devblog 7. I will see you guys in the next video of Devblog 8. Until then, guys, have a good one.